Ryan. Now, here's the point in the podcast where I use those three little words.
What are those? What are those three little words, Mike?
Very special guest.
Oh,
We have a very special guest here today
super special. I'd
on
say.
the wrestling podcast about nothing.
Oh no, you're special.
He's
Your mom told us that you were very special.
He's a special kind of fella. He was once known as the Mohawked Enforcer.
Sure was. I wonder if I still have that T-shirt somewhere.
He is once known as Double Tough, twice as tough as a regular tough.
Well, he was double tough till he ran into the Kingpin.
He was the Tower of Power? No? Okay. Former NECW Triple Crown champion of the world. He was a former WWE NXT superstar, formerly known as Axl Keegan, formerly known as Mickey Keegan. And to us, he's known as
Max von Bauer.
Yes.
No?
Max, or just Max Bauer.
Max Bauer.
Let's go with Max Bauer. Max Bauer is here with us on the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. Welcome to the program.
Wow. That was terrifying. I legitimately thought you were both going to say Max Tampax.
I was going to get into that.
It's in your notes.
Maybe we'll talk about Max and T later, though.
Max and Tea. It's everyone's favorite dessert.
It's nice. All right, so we got Max here. He's a wealth of wrestling knowledge, is he not?
I'd say
Sorry.
I'd say more a fountain of misinformation.
Let's start at the top as we usually do, Brian. How did you meet the one and only Max?
Well, I got to tell you, Mike, I knew from the first time I saw this guy walk into the Chaotic Training Center, big things were in store for him. I said, look at that guy right there. That guy is going to be...
that guy in the sleeveless T-shirt and basketball shorts with the not so flattering physical condition.
I don't really remember like
I didn't know this was so uplifting.
I don't remember your first day or anything. I remember in the beginning maybe not us hating each other or anything, but some discourse here and there between us or whatever.
You were mad at me. Yeah, you yelled at me.
I yelled
I don't
at
know
you
why.
a time or two.
You were. I don't remember what it was, but you were definitely upset with me.
Like you butted me or something, and I got really mad about it.
Oh yeah, you got really upset about
So
it.
were you teaching at the school at the time, or you were just one of the more veteran students?
Yeah, this was more when I think like me and Handsome would kind of do more like the newbie type stuff, like with the real beginners, while Hollow worked with more of the advanced students. Maybe your memory's a little better than mine of this. I think that's kind of what the setup was at that point.
No, I don't remember.
I don't remember us ever like hating each other or anything. I don't think we became like actual friends until a little bit later on.
Yeah,
But I don't remember there's nothing sticks out other than the one time I think I really really yelled at you.
I just remember my first day
At the Chaotic Training Center.
at the CTC,
Yes.
formerly known as. We did lockups, and I locked up with you for a while, and the next day I had the biggest bruise on my collarbone.
What are you trying to say?
I mean, whatever.
Crowbar.
Learn how to work, kid. Yeah, I vividly, for whatever reason, I remember that. Because then I think that, maybe it was the first day, and then the second day, maybe we did more lockups, and maybe I already had a bruise, something like that, and you were hitting it, or I don't remember. But that was the day I started to hate you, so,
Wow.
fond memories.
And
not very
It
nice.
sticks with you to this day.
Yeah, as a young 17-year-old lad.
Yeah, so were you were in college,
love.
right? At the
No,
time?
I was in high school.
You were still in high school when you
I
started?
was in high school. Me and some kid Ian called.
Yes,
which like
another-
4 people will get that joke.
Right.
Maybe 5. Some kid Ian call will get it. He listens. He follows my career still.
All right. Todd Sinclair is an rabid fan of the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing, so he'll be.
Oh, he sure is.
Yes.
Fully doubt that.
Well, come
Oh,
on.
he really is. Listens to every episode. Say hi.
Oh, really?
Say hi to Fat Pants.
Hey, Fat Pants, I'm coming over. We're going to play some rock band. So, just be ready. Get the VHSs out.
So you and some kid Ian called were attending as high schoolers. The
Yes.
CTC.
It must have been my senior year. It was one of them 2-day boot camp.
Oh.
It was my first day, some kid Ian's first day, and close to his last. Tommaso's first day.
Wow. Tommaso Ciampa, you mean?
Chaso Ciampa.
Yes.
He hates that. It was Tommy Cutler's first day.
So you were savoring the flavor.
I think that Chase had started like that week, but not at that camp.
Big Gulp.
Big Gulp. Yep.
Yeah.
Big Gulp started.
Chase Del Monte.
Maybe the Logans were there, pretty brand new.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, they come from like another kind of backyardish sort of
Yeah.
promotion.
Fed.
So you talked about your first name in the wrestling business. You were christened as Max Tampax. Now, if I were a betting man, I would say that it was a Handsome Johnny creation. But
that's what I put my money on. I don't personally remember.
how'd that come about? Do you know?
You would actually both be wrong.
Oh!
It was.
God, I hope it wasn't me.
No. It was. I think it was Fat Pants, actually.
Really?
It was either Fat Pants or Dukes. Dukes loved it. He thought it was the funniest thing ever. But I think it was Fat Pants. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Huh. All
Yeah.
right, so
No. Handsome was still pretty new at Chaotic, I think, or newer. Like he had only been there for like 6 months or a year, maybe.
Okay, so he wasn't in full handsome mode yet.
We all know how that goes. Actually, we all don't, but like us three do. So we'll
Yeah,
laugh
your
at
nickname probably would have been like, "Oh, hey, fat shit face."
it. Yeah, he would have just ripped my T-shirt and called me disparaging names to like quit the business.
Well, speaking of T-shirts, I remember your first match was a very unique situation. Outdoors
Poncho.
at a at a campground.
That was your first
No,
match?
it was a fucking gun. Can I swear? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Yes,
okay,
please,
good.
please go.
Please do.
Please indulge. Yeah, it was a fucking gun club. Does everyone remember that?
Oh yeah, the Smoking Princesses. And,
Oh, I don't know what the names.
Skunk O'Malley. With,
I just remember telling my
pie on
parents
his
like,
face.
"Yeah, I'm having my first match. You guys should come." And they're like, "Where is it?" And I was like, "It's like Worcester or something like that." But it was like the Worcester Gun Club.
Yeah, we were off by the pond.
Yeah,
and
it was fucking
there was like these women dressed. It was like some sort of. I think it was like a fundraiser for like the American Cancer Society.
More like a gun raiser.
Uh,
I still got it.
and there were these girls dressed as like Disney princesses, and they were out standing around the pond like just smoking cigarettes, ripping butts.
As Disney princesses do.
And there's a guy fishing into the pond while we're in the ring wrestling. and stuff.
Psycho, third-degree burns on his feet.
Yes. I was going to talk about that. A warm day. The canvas was scorching hot, and this one wrestler that we know, a good friend of ours, Psycho, is barefoot in the ring, and he literally scorching like So it was a tag team match you were in. You and Tony Omega against Pretty Psycho, I believe.
Yep.
And Psycho was standing on the bottom rope rather than stand on the apron and actually be on the canvas. It was so terribly hot.
Yeah. I remember that vividly, oddly.
So that was your first match, but that match you wore like
Blue singlet.
did you, or was it the Omega security outfit?
I might have worn the shirt out, but I
Right.
definitely wrestled in the blue singlet.
Oh, okay. So when you actually were given a character and a gimmick, you were, I don't know if you were forced, but you were put in dress clothes. You would wear a button-down shirt and slacks, if you will. I don't use that word very often, but I think I would qualify those as slacks.
They were my wrestling trousers, yes.
How did you feel about being in this getup?
You know, it's funny because the person who was most offended was actually Chase, which was funny to me. I didn't like it, but it was one of those things where I was really kind of just like, I wanted to be on shows and I wanted to wrestle. So the most important thing to me was to be able to like get in the ring in front of a group of human beings instead of just like class. So I didn't really care. I mean, I was with Arch, who was like a great character, and Tommaso, who was just kind of like starting his whole deal. And so, you know, it was, again, not preferable, but like Jamie paid for it, so whatever, it's fine.
So how was it working with Arch and Tommaso? We've talked about Arch in recent episodes. His
good old Arch.
his lunacy.
Malonis' favorite person.
Good old Arch. I already said it on here that I don't really care for him all that much.
Oh, don't worry. I wasn't like covering up for
So.
you. I think that's hinting enough. I enjoyed it. I mean, you know,
He was like Arch was like the veteran, and you and Tommaso were almost brand new. So that was his role to kind of bring you guys along.
Yeah.
There's a guy you want to put people under his wing.
Come on,
Well, I mean, so like for better or worse,
he was a good professional wrestler
and a good
he
performer
was,
overall.
Yeah,
he was
good,
a
very good
performer.
performer.
He was a fun and interesting human being. I think for me, he kind of disarmed the worry of like your first few matches, mainly because he just was so not connected to the physical sport of wrestling. He was very much connected to like the character. So he didn't really care about what we did in the ring all that much. And his ideas were usually kind of like, I think when I'm on the apron, I'm gonna walk down to the other side and put my foot up. is that good? And Arch, I literally couldn't give a shit less. I wouldn't say that obviously, but it was like
You're like, that's very good. I like that a lot.
That's genius. I would never have thought of that because I'm sane. But so for me, it was good because he took me out of, I need to have a good match. I mean, we were all very trained very diligently and specifically. So it was almost seen as a right and wrong as opposed to, trying different things and experimenting. So it was good, I think, for me to kind of just force myself to be in the moment with him, allow kind of whatever silliness he ended up wanting to do and trying to be able to react to that. So, I think at the end of it all, he's probably not going to teach me the difference, the finer techniques of wrestling, but entertainment and showmanship, he was a very unique talent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be clear, my dislike of him has very little to do with his in-ring.
It was extremely personal.
Is just more along the lines of his wretched personality outside of the ring.
Oh, come on. And Tommaso, this is kind of the start. I mean, you guys maintain a relationship to this day. So how did you feel about working with Tommaso at this time?
Dirtbag, carny scum. No. Yeah, I mean, we bonded pretty quickly as new kids tend to do. I mean, when you don't really have a place, you kind of just start finding the other person without a place, and you're like, well, now we're here together. That's weird. But I think our personalities are complementary, although very different. We're actually very, very close still. I mean, we're probably one of my closest friends in the business still. It was just one of those things. I think it was a circumstantial thing, but it was also right. I think we probably never would have met each other otherwise, but the fact that we did was great because just beyond wrestling, we're just very good friends. He's a good dude.
So what about big business? Let's get into that a little bit.
Big business was good.
So Brian Malonis and Max Bauer found their way together with Alex Arion, another person who's a good friend of both of you.
Cherry Payne.
And myself as well. Yeah, Cherry Payne. What were your thoughts about being a part of this faction in Chaotic Wrestling?
I thought it was a blast. I mean, I was very excited to do something different than with Arch and T. I don't even remember why it happened, but it was one of those things where
Arch was leaving, and then
sure,
and then he kind of, I don't know, I think the whole story was he brokered a deal to bring me and Cherry Payne into the intellectual properties. Then he kind of disappeared, and the four of us were left together. I think is kind of how the whole deal went.
Wrestling historian Brian.
Wow.
Wow. It's about me, so I remember.
I know, fair enough. In all fairness, it was about me too, and I don't remember it, so whatever. But that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, again, I think for me, Alex brought a very different perspective. Same as Arch, right? I mean, so me and Malonis, came up in the same group together, so we had a lot of similar mindsets. Not about everything necessarily, but I think, we had certainly some commonalities. I think what Alex offered was just a very different perspective. Again, when you look at Arch, same idea. So, it was really fun to just, be able to work with somebody who had a lot of experience, good experience, different experience, and a lot of, Alex likes to have fun. That's what
I think Al too is legitimately one of the best guys I've ever been in the ring with.
Aside from me, yeah, definitely.
But I think Al's a guy who I feel like had he been coming up now with his talent, he'd probably get a chance. Where he spent the majority. Alex Arion, for those who don't know,
he started with Al Snow.
Right, he's a smaller guy though. Al's short, and at the time, probably the heyday of Al's career was just WWE was 6'4", 260-pound monsters. Where now they're more open to smaller guys. Al was that good, and.
Yeah, he did a little bit in Ring of Honor, and he was. We talked about.
I think he had a dark match and stuff, or dark matches on TV. And
we talked about with Brian Fury. He was on the WFA side. He's a very close friend of the Mofo, Steve Bradley, who was a former WWE developmental talent that opened up a promotion in New Hampshire that opposed Chaotic. Basically, it was the turf wars with. So Alex eventually came over to Chaotic, and that's how. He's got this different perspective than a lot of the Chaotic guys had at the time.
And it was for me, that was the most fun I ever had, in Chaotic Wrestling. That was by far the most fun I ever had.
I thought we were going to put me over. What the fuck?
Well, because of our affiliation.
Yeah,
Yes.
Whatever. It's fine. No, I love Alex. Alex is awesome. Still talk to him quite a bit. Actually, I've been meaning to go see him.
You're a piece of shit.
Agreed. Fair enough.
And speaking of close friends, you formed a good relationship with Big Rick Fuller, who's a former WCW talent who was from this area and kind of found a place in Chaotic. How do you feel about Big Rick Fuller?
Oh, man. Rick's awesome.
Yeah.
This is my favorite story of Rick. It's very short. Don't worry. We were tagging on a show once. We were kind of putting some stuff together, and we were about to go out, and it was in some gym, I think in Everett. And so, like, literally, we're like getting ready to go out, and one of the little helper kids for the show goes up to Rick, just like a random creep at a show. He's just like, "Yeah, so like you were like in WCW, right?" And like not even like no hiccup, no thought. He just literally looked at the kid. I was WCW. Lost my shit. And then he just kept going. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Good for you. Rick's a genius. I still have a Tab shirt that Rick gave me. It's one of my prized possessions, even though Tab is terrible.
Well, that's not that bad.
Rick Fuller's
It's
favorite
literally
beverage.
bleach with carbonation. It's horrible.
My wife refused to have one when we were over their house
That's why
for a
you've been
barbecue.
Blackballed from the floor. Festival.
I mean, he chopped her in the face. I mean, but I couldn't argue with it.
Deserves.
What about Max von Bauer? You alluded to it earlier.
Yes.
What about being German?
What about another funny? I mean, again, 2-second story. Jim Kettner, who
For the
was
ECWA. Yeah.
ECWA, right? He was at our school doing one of the camps, I think, and he came up to me one day and he told me this idea, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, sure, I'll try it. And his whole rationale was, and this is what was just wrestling isms. It was, well, like Bauer's German, so you have German background. I'm like, yeah, it's totally not my real name, but okay, cool. And he's like, oh, I thought that was your real name. I'm like, no. He's okay. Well, do you want to do it anyways? I'm like, yeah, great. I was like, all right.
Hey, your mom's Jewish. You want to be a Nazi?
There was a very strict no goose stepping policy, so I mean, we made sure that it was only mildly anti-Semitic, tastefully anti-Semitic.
What about being the NECW Triple Crown champion, as we talked about?
Oh man,
that was quite a long time, was it not?
it was like 19 years. I think I'm still the champion.
Sure. I know you guys are still the tag team champions of
XWA, man.
aren't you?
Who's the? Oh yeah,
Yeah, we are still the
some
reigning
bullshit.
tag team champions.
The last time the titles were defended was what? 2000.
It's got to be over a decade
Four?
at this point. It has to be.
I'll bet you both $20 cash that Handsome Johnny still has those blue pants.
Blue pants.
Do you remember the blue pants? I remember we wrestled as a tag team, and you had the deal with the singlet and the red and black pants, and I had my plain blue singlet. I'm like, oh, we should have some sort of like a matching.
Yes.
Thing.
I remember
And I was
those.
like, I need some sort of pant, and so Handsome had those blue,
Okay, yeah.
whatever they are with the
Breakaway,
black stripes.
yeah. I remember them now. Yes.
They're so good. But yeah, NECW. Man, just fine. Yeah, it was fine. No, that's mean. No, it was fun. I mean, what was really cool about working featured in that role, I mean, obviously it was local still. They gave me a lot of ability to work with a lot of people I kind of wanted to work with. So I got to have like not just a match with somebody, but I got to work with Fury a bunch of times. I got to work with Rick a bunch of times. I got to work with Al a bunch of times. I worked with Brandon a bunch of times. I think you came in for a little while,
Brandon
Malonis.
Locke. Yeah.
Brandon Locke. So what was really cool about it was, I mean, obviously, first time in your career to be featured, it's like, oh, that's, I'm maybe doing something right. But I think the most interesting thing to me, or the most fun thing for me, was really just being able to work with a lot of great people. I mean, I think that we all know that the only way to really get better is to work people who are good. So that was cool. And I was on like the cover of the Boston Globe with Tom Brady.
Can I?
Wait, arm around Tom Brady, or
Yeah. We took
boy.
a picture together. We were hanging out. It was great.
so you were in the top? He was in the top corner. You were in the bottom corner.
No. We shared the cover. Okay, Crockett. I think I was pretty clear about that. It's 50-50 split.
We'll have to get a proof
So
of that
hold on,
somehow.
let me talk about our NECW matches here.
Uh-oh.
This guy here almost knocked my friggin' teeth out We were in
Oh
the
my
Quincy
God, you're
Armory.
still bitching
He
about
got
that.
excited.
Puts
Fine.
a trash can, like a rubber trash can, over my head, and then proceeds just like, I don't even know what it was. Was it a clothesline? Is that what it was?
I don't know.
And like I couldn't see anything, so I couldn't like protect myself, and I was just right in the teeth.
You
and
had
I went
a trash
down.
can on your
I
head.
went
That's
down, and
protection.
I'm feeling my teeth now because I'm thinking like, oh my God, he just knocked my teeth out. He just knocked my teeth out.
Oh.
And then you give it back to him later, right? Where you
The baseball bat. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about
Oh,
that.
yeah, you put a metal trash can over him and hit it with a baseball
the
bat.
day before I fly out for my tryout, you hit me with a baseball bat in a trash can. You never said anything about it.
I
didn't-
protected you.
didn't- bullshit. It's exactly the same way I protected you.
Were you
Like,
okay?
You're fine.
I didn't knock your teeth out or nothing.
You didn't knock your teeth off.
I didn't even almost knock your teeth out.
I didn't almost knock your teeth out at all.
You certainly did.
I see a full mouth full of pearly whites, so that means ain't shit happened. It's like saying, you almost hit me, which translates to, I didn't fucking hit you. You're fine.
To be fair, you're also the same guy who had me like powerbomb you or whatever off a stage through a table after you like had your contract. So
We didn't, that was like a choke thing. Whatever.
That was fun, right?
Yeah, that's
That's fun in games.
Yeah, I was in Derry. I mean, not Derry. What was that?
Littleton.
Littleton. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big house. It's like at least 50 people.
so people don't think we hate each other or some sort of crazy maniacs. You tend to do more things maybe
Right.
with people you're extremely comfortable with, especially at this time. I mean, I think there was probably nobody that I spent more time with than you, and vice versa, because we were living next door to each other, going to the gym, going to shows on the weekends, like.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So when you're that comfortable with somebody, you tend maybe to
Oh,
not
it
take
was
liberties,
fine.
but do. I think if I went into a match with somebody I didn't know and did the sort of things we've done to each other, like it might have been a fight in the locker room backstage, but now this ends up, because we're friends, it ends up in a funny story on a podcast.
This is funny. Oh,
I think it's pretty funny. Well, not when you almost knocked my teeth out,
I'm
but
having a terrible time.
So you kind of alluded to getting your tryout and stuff like that, but you went to WWE TV a few times, right? Before
Yeah.
before that dark match, that fateful dark match.
Yeah. I did. TV was always stressful. I mean,
For you, or just
I think for Vince, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
what a dumb question, huh? That's exactly what I deserve. Thank you.
I mean, every time I walked by him, he just was like, he wouldn't even make eye contact. He was so nervous about. No, I'm just kidding.
we had a few interesting times over like together at TV with certain people taking pictures, maybe.
Oh, Jesus
Pictures.
Christ.
Yeah, people taking pictures backstage of
Yeah.
themselves, or asking WWE not officials, but like stagehands or whatever, to take pictures in front of them in front of logos and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I almost give you a heart attack.
It gave me anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, so we're talking about, what's his face? Tommy Mack. I remember. Oh, we're not supposed to say that? No.
I tried to allude to it.
Yeah, it was trying.
Oh, don't give a shit. Fuck him. I remember sitting in one of the locker rooms with him. That's all right. I'll be the asshole. I don't care.
Go for it.
You can beat me up, Tommy Mack. I don't care. We were sitting in one of the locker rooms, and he asked me something about. He said something about like Kane having a house near him in New Hampshire. He's like, I don't know. I think I should talk to him. I just remember vividly looking him dead in the eye and be like, you should definitely ask him that. I don't know why. I just thought that was really funny. But.
Was it Kane or was it Triple H? I thought it was.
No. He said he built Triple H's like fireplace or something like
Gotcha.
that, and I was like, that's awesome, dude. I just like I don't know how to
nothing wrong
react to
with
that.
it.
It's like great. He doesn't pick you because you're a good wrestler. He pick you because you build a fucking fireplace. Whatever. Is that? Are we not supposed to do that?
No, you're
No,
good,
that's
man.
fine. Now let's get into this dark.
Moving on.
This dark match. You were part of this, right, Brian? You were there
Yeah,
as well.
it was me, Max, and Fury. I think. Did we tell this story before?
I think we kind of.
We might have told it, but anyways, you're here now. So
this is your perspective. We're gonna get
Yeah.
here. So there was some sort of lineup, wasn't there?
right, so we were like, I'm sure Max remembers that it was a terrible freaking snowstorm. You know, your mom. This is when your mom was like the day before was like, you guys should just not go.
Yeah, that's good career advice. Thanks, Deb.
The building for the show was what?
Nassau Coliseum.
The Coliseum,
Okay.
yeah. Shithole.
All right. So this lineup.
Well, we were in the extras locker room,
right.
Yes.
and
Bones.
I think we were. If I remember right, we were like, okay, how the hell do we get out of here? Because they're not going to use us. And
Oh yeah, we were trying to leave.
yeah, and like Tony Delfonso had no show.
Yeah, he didn't come.
Because remember, like they lined us up and they were looking for him. That's what they were looking. They were looking for. They were looking for him for the dark match.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I don't remember the referee's name who came, but he came in. Johnny needs you by the ring now. So take it away, Max. It's just this episode's about you. So
Yeah, I do actually. Now that you say, I do remember us trying to figure out like we could probably just leave. Like they don't give a shit. It's fine. I mean, like whatever we showed up, like the show's about to start, they're not going to use us. And then he came bursting in. Clearly, someone's in his earpiece screaming at him, and he's like, "You need to go to the ring. You need to go to the ring." And like, I think like you might have been dressed or like back in like business casual. Like I was probably half-ass dressed or something. Like, we were all like, "Okay, day's over. Like nothing's happening." And then we ended up going to the ringside. And they lined us up and just like, you stand here, and they put us like on hard cam, probably so agents could look at us because they didn't want to get up and talk to any, jamokes from the indies. And then I think maybe like Mike Chioda or something like that was like, "Where's the Jack Kid?" or something.
yeah, so I don't remember who said that.
Yeah, and it's like,
and then, like, they made like the motion of like the arms, like I'm putting my arms
The
up,
big
like
lat
yeah,
spread.
yeah, exactly. Like
all three of us were like, "Don't worry, it's not us. It's not us." Yeah, and then was there more to that? I don't remember.
So Jamie Noble goes, "Which one of you guys is the best worker?" And we're like, well, we all raise our hands, like
a real
good.
objective, useful question.
And
Thank
then,
you.
yeah, and they're like, "Well, ask Kofi. Kofi knows them." and so Kofi's like, "Yeah, they're all good."
No help there.
So which one of you guys has the best gear? And we're all, we all have
Terrible gear. In all fairness, my gear was horrible.
But I mean, we all had wrestling gear. It wasn't like we were wrestling in like,
Yeah.
Dress pants and a button-down
Come on
shirt.
now. Come on now.
So then, like, finally, they're like, okay, the one with the beard. Now, you had a beard, I had a goatee, and Fury had a beard.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about this.
And then ultimately, what it was getting to is they chose Max.
Yeah.
Right.
The best one, clearly.
And the match was the first match of the evening on the card with who?
Nick McNeil.
No, it wasn't. Was it?
Yes, it was.
It was?
Percy Watson's real name.
His real name. I thought it was Percy Watson.
You son of a bitch.
No. Yeah. It was with Percy. Yeah. I mean, it was totally a match. Totally a match for him, obviously, like totally fine. I think they gave me like 30 seconds of offense, which was whatever. I'll take whatever I can get.
Did you get an entrance with music and stuff?
I think they played something, but it was like, go to the ring, play something, and it wasn't like, produce this kid. Like it was pretty like, yeah, get the kid out there. Here's what you're gonna do, Percy. Yeah, I mean, it was, like whatever, 5 minutes. I remember walking out and it was like still filling in, so it was a little weird to be like in such a large space. With not a lot of people, and sure as shit, not a lot of people caring about you.
Right.
It was Nunzio was the ref, so that was cool because I had like known him a little bit. So he was just kind of like little words of wisdom here and there, just where's the hard cam and blah blah blah. Just it was comforting to have someone certainly in that scenario. I think the most memorable part of the match, aside from like having a heart attack and cutting myself before I went out.
What?
So again, I had gear. It was older gear, and I had ordered new gear, I think maybe a month before, but I hadn't gotten it yet. Mm-hmm. So I had this just like plain black singlet that I'd had Surratt like sew on like a patch, but this was like I've been wearing it for 6-8 months. So some of the stitching was frayed, and I had like I think Fury had a blade in his bag for making a fucking blade.
You never know when WWE's going to ask you.
Yeah, well, I think that was just like his
color.
Yeah, I think that was just his WFA, ode to. So he just had it. And I was like, dude, I need to just at least cut some of like the fringy fray off. And it was like a brand new razor. I cut my fingers. I'm like, dude, I'm falling apart. Like, cause I was just like, it was like in the mindset switch from putting my shit on, like, should we go, like, get out of this storm before it gets bad, to like, go to the ring, you're wrestling, you know what I mean? So it was just like, and there was no time either. It was like literally they picked us, or they picked me. They said, here's Nick, here's what you're doing, or here's Percy, here's what you're doing, blah blah blah, straight home. Okay, you got it?
Yeah, they came and got us. Like, it was like, I mean, they were pretty close to doors when, like,
it was like 30 minutes before we went out.
Yeah.
Was when we were lined up. And so from that time, it was silly faff, get picked, talk to Percy for like 5 minutes, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to hit this. What do you want me to do? Whatever. And I was like, okay, I got to go put like gear on. So like I ran back to the little extras rock room, put my shit on, and then it was just like, all right, you're going now. So, it was just like this massive, like, you almost didn't have time to be nervous because it was so, quick.
Right.
Totally was nervous though. Don't worry. But yeah, I remember I cut my fingers. I was just like, I can't believe I didn't get gear. Like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, why would I be that guy that I always say, like, yo, you got to be prepared and just, be proactive, invest in yourself. And it's like, yeah, I didn't get gear. I'm an asshole. But I remember standing in the ring, just like looking around as Percy was about to make his entrance. And I just said it like 4 times myself. It's like, it's just the same. It's all the same. This is the exact same thing. And it's literally because it's, at the end of the day, it's like, it's just a wrestling ring in a bigger building. It's the exact same thing that I've been doing, that Malonis has been doing, Crockett, does on his end. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? And I think you have to, for me, I have to have that grounding experience to say like, yeah, like it's just the same thing. It kind of calmed me down a little bit. And then, match was over before it started, but, it went well. I mean, all the agents loved it. And I think Jamie Noble, like, his feedback was, damn, kid, I didn't know you could work. And I was like, thank you, I guess.
Why the fuck did you put me in there then?
Yeah. I I'm saying they probably have low expectations, but it was just one of those things. It was like, I guess that's a compliment. Thanks.
I remember we had a great interaction with Triple H afterwards, too.
What was that?
So Kofi watched the match for me because, we knew Kofi and he's a good dude. And she's like, yeah, man, it was really good. I was talking to the agents. They said they didn't seen Percy look that good. And they giving you credit for it. I was like, wow, man, that's like super awesome. That's like literally all I could hope for, barring like, that kid's got something. Put him on Raw, which, that probably isn't going to happen. But he's like, I know for a fact Triple H was watching because I guess they were probably watching Percy. And so he's like, you should go ask him. And I'm like, he goes, dude, seriously, he will respect you if you go and say, hey, I heard you might have seen my match. Do you have anything? I was like, yeah, man, whatever. Okay. I went up to him. I was like, hey, I don't know if you had a second chance to watch that at all, but, if you saw anything, I'd love to just hear anything you have to offer me. And he's like, nope, not a second. Thanks, kid. And he just walked away. I was like,
I'm pretty sure not a fucking second is what.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I was like an earshot of this.
Yeah, that sounds right. Which, in retrospect, especially like seeing him more when I was signed, like that really is his sense of humor. Like he's not being a dick. It's just like, yeah, zing, good for you. Like, all right. Like totally.
Great indie dark match guy.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I have to go on live TV in like 10 minutes. Shut the fuck up.
Here's the thing, bro. I'm producing the real superstar.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If you would walk by me, I wouldn't have even noticed you existed as a human being. It would have just been like, was that a strong gust of air? Oh, it was a person? Oh, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Not in a bad way. Whatever. It's just funny.
So this dark match and the praise that you were getting afterwards, did this help parlay into you being signed, or was it a much longer process?
Oh, man, not at all. It was so useless. It was so useless. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was fun, whatever. Right. It's one of those things where I think it motivates you. So I think in that way it helped me. But, I mean, that was definitely not a time where they were, I think if Percy was there, and I know Trent was there, and a few other guys, so that must have been around like one of the original NXT iterations. It must have been, right?
It was the Johnny Curtis season.
That's right.
Was that night like the finals or some sort, or
like the endless season that
Johnny
went on forever?
Curtis versus Brodus Clay? Like,
oh, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that was like the same night.
I don't remember any of this. You always remember that stuff. I'm so bad. I'm like,
well, I didn't have to worry about having a match that night.
Yeah, but it's like afterwards. It's like I'm like there. Like I just remember that and the weird things that I remember about it, and then I remember watching it from one of the tunnels with Brodus Clay sitting there just burying everybody. And it was just like, okay, I don't know. Probably shouldn't say that either. Whatever.
I don't think Brodus Clay listens.
Yeah, edit that. This doesn't make it down to his locker room. But no, I mean, that's one of the.
Just for 1 second, we should. I want to set up. I just want to set up. I want to give Max praise that Max has always been like a heavier guy, probably closer to the 300-pound mark, like 280 to 300.
Yeah.
And at this time, and I can attest because I was working out with him, like he made a lot of great positive changes with his diet and his workout, and like I don't even know what you get down to 220 something, 230,
228, yeah.
So he completely went through, and we haven't put it over here, and I think it's something we should put over. He completely changed the way he looked, the way he did things.
Yeah. I mean,
and
totally put me over.
He went from somebody who, me and Max had previously done a WWE tryout at the Chaotic Training Center, and we were the only guys that they forced to take our shirts off. So he had gone from somebody like that to somebody who put the work in to get his body to be where WWE looked at him as a serious, as a serious prospect. So I think that we should definitely mention that because, I mean, that's a lot of people get the feedback and, yeah, like me.
Don't do anything with it, yeah.
Yeah, but he did. He lost 60 or 80 pounds or whatever you lost and put yourself on the radar.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, that definitely was motivating to me. And I think the next time I went to TV, we were working out in the ring, and Jamie Noble was there, and he didn't remember me at all. But I mean, like,
it's always the way.
Yeah, which is fine. It's
like Manchester or something.
I don't know. I remember he didn't remember me at all. I feel like it was in Boston maybe. And then I just remember we worked out, and I think I got in the ring with like, maybe, was Mikey B there? Maybe? I don't know.
The Miracle, Mike Bennett?
Maybe, yeah.
TNA wrestling star?
Yeah, he was there a bunch too.
I thought he
TVs.
was. I just remember I got in the ring with Fury, and like, I think we were just like putting heat on him. Like, just beating him up, and I beat him up a little bit, and then like I put him in a hold, and then I took like a crossbody, and I cut him back off, and I tagged out. Or no, Jamie was like, tag out, kid, tag out. He immediately came over to me and was like, who are you? What are you doing? I'm like, dude, like, that's all you're looking for. I can do that. That's easy.
Do that all day.
Yeah. It still didn't get signed from it. Don't worry. It's,
all right.
Another failure. But, I mean, that's part of it, right? It's like you got to be able to – the emotional ride of it is really hard because they only see you when they see you, so it's just a very acute moment to them, whereas you're obviously living that entire experience. And – the ups and downs of being booked for TV and being excited and then having to go to TV and being nervous and then being, on stage and hopefully being looked at in some capacity and wanting to not suck. And whether, you do well or don't do well, you kind of always end up beating yourself up. If you do well, you're like, this is the best day ever and I'm great. And then nothing happens. You're like, I'm the worst. They hate me. Or God forbid it goes bad and you get banned for life. And you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. Ooh,
you can come back from that, though, I'm told.
Yes, you can.
Yes, apparently. It's banned for like a dog's life. Or a short, shitty dog's life or something.
Like a bee's life or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. It's fine.
So, yeah, the signing part.
I remember I went to TV. It was like January or something like that.
Another time after that time?
Maybe. I think it was maybe 2 times after. It was a little while, actually. That match really... not in a bad way, it just didn't really do a lot for me.
Right.
Getting signed. I mean, it certainly kept me focused. But there was like a January TV that I went to, and I was like kind of prepared, but I wasn't really. I think I'd like sent an email not expecting to get a return, and I did, and I got booked. And so I'm pretty sure I worked a match on that one.
Before doors opened?
Yeah. For Regal. Yeah. That was, I worked with Taven. And okay. I worked with Taven. We had like a good little match, and Regal really liked it, and so he kind of singled out me, Taven, and Sammy Callahan. And then from there, the conversation was really like, hey, we like what you do. You move really well, blah, blah, blah. Get in shape, get a look, come back and show us something. And then from there, when I really started, again, focusing back on the gym, getting cardio, the whole thing, training quite a bit. And then I was offered a tryout from that. Actually, I got booked for TV, and then I was offered a tryout the weekend before, which was weird. And so then I got flown down to Tampa, went to the tryout. Things apparently went okay. And then they offered me a contract from that.
Right. You were down there for a week.
Yes.
And everything went swimmingly? You felt really good coming out of that?
I felt as good as you could, I guess. It's like one of those things where what was tested was very fundamental. So I know my fundamentals are strong, or were strong at the time. So I was very confident in that, like, I definitely did a good job. If it was like, who does the best up and over? Like, I'm not going to get signed because I do the best up and over. Like, I can do it. But it was really about, like, I knew I could work hard. We didn't do a lot of actual, like, ring work, like matches. So to me, that was a little nerve-wracking because, I feel like I can shine in that capacity. But, I felt like I delivered, like, a really solid, few days of hard work. My fundamentals were absolutely as strong as anybody else they could want. I felt like my promos were good. Yeah, I mean, good enough. Better or worse, good enough.
So you got a call after that, or was this when you went to that TV the next time they heard about a contract?
No, I got a call. I went to that TV, and Regal was there, and Scott Armstrong was there, and we kind of had a little bit of a relationship. And so, they pulled me aside, and Regal kind of said, like, things went really well, and I don't know how much, you talked to Canyon, but a lot of people were really impressed with you. And, that's one of those things you try and take with a grain of salt. I mean, it's super exciting to hear, obviously, from a guy like William Regal. It's, like, ridiculously flattering. But it's also, it's not anything until it's something. So, and then Scott Armstrong, I remember in the workout, he's like, yeah, you don't have to work out if you don't want to. And I was like, dude, I'm here. And I did, and I finished what I was doing, and he kind of just came to me and goes, hey, by the way, congratulations. I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to know anything yet. And he's like, well, I don't know if it's official, but I heard good things. I'm like, okay, cool. And then like the longest 3 weeks in the history of the world, and then I got a phone call, and then it was like, yay, you're a thing, great.
So you were going to Tampa,
Florida.
and you drove down there, you caravan down.
Did.
We got to post a picture from on the WPAN page of his last show with us.
Oh, the outdoor show in Hudson?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tape my bag to a cone or something.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Tape my bag to something.
Yeah. That was the chaotic tradition. When someone left, you took as much wrist tape as you could, and you taped their bags to some object.
Fucked with their shit.
Yeah,
Don't
basically.
go.
Yeah, it's a very tearful ceremony.
It certainly was. Now, when you got down to Tampa, was it like a culture shock to you? Or was it just going in there and going to work? Or how did you feel when you first got there?
I mean, I think that we all build this reality around what, especially at the time, WWE was, and what being there, the politics and everyone's going to hate you and they're going to backstab you and whatever. And so, I mean, I think that the reality was much more like, yeah, you're going to show up and work out and like go to shows and stuff. So it was definitely a shock as far as, I mean, I'm being paid full time. It was almost felt like, I remember after a few weeks, I was like, I feel like I haven't gone to work yet. And that's not one of those just like a happy employee, like I'm not even gonna have a job. Like, I mean, it was definitely hard work, but it seemed weird to me as somebody who had supported himself outside of wrestling to be able to wrestle, to now just be like, yeah, all I literally do is wrestle all day.
You feel like you should be doing something else.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I'm like supposed to go into work or something, and it's so I mean there was definitely, I mean you see things that are similar to maybe ideas you have of the place, but nothing that's like so overt and terrible. And Bill had just taken over, and
Bill DeMott,
and he was not liked by a lot of the talent.
You had heard about you had experienced some of the Deep South training with Mike Hollow, who had.
We should also mention. I think Sasha Banks started. You and Sasha Banks basically got signed like same time, like literally same time.
Yeah. No. We were at the same tryout. We got signed the same day, I think, or whatever. Got the calls the same day. Yeah. I mean, she was in my starting class. Dawson from Dash and Dawson. He was in my starting class. We were like riding buddies my entire time that I was there. That might be it for the people who made it to TV, I think, in that class. I mean, I think Angelo Dawkins is still down there doing something, and whatever that big kid's name is, Sawyer Fulton.
Yeah, I don't think they're on
So
TV.
the grizzled vet. What's that big kid's name?
What's that young buck name? No.
So I mean, now you hear all the great things about the performance and everything. What was the facility like at that point in Tampa?
It really depends on who you asked. Again, as somebody who has trained, Chaotic Training Center was always a very reputable facility, like really nice as far as, wrestling facilities go. But, I'd wrestled at the old Slam Tech in that factory in whatever it was, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Like, we'd all wrestled in weird, scummy buildings and wherever else. And, I think we were used to a standard that was below what you would anticipate WWE's. So to me, like, I walked in there, I was like, wow, this place is amazing. Like, there's like 2 full rings, and there's like a little rehab corner. And then there was like the show area, which had like a ring and a full like U of chairs plus TV cameras. So again, I think, coming from the indies, a lot of the indie guys are like, this is the nicest place I've ever wrestled in. or one of the nicest places, right? If you ask somebody who's coming from the outside, like a lot of the NFLers and whoever else, like, they're like, this place is shit, and it was a fucking warehouse. And it's like, oh, I mean, okay, yeah, it's a fucking warehouse. He's like, Norman Smiley was always loved that. He goes, these motherfuckers never wrestled in a shitty gym before. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I was like, yeah, that's probably true.
So the rite of passage for a lot of the guys going down there was getting your name, which everybody at that time, and it's not as much these days, but
I remember we all waited with bated breath.
yes, for what was this fella Max Bauer going to be called? Now, how did your name come about?
So when they get there, at some point, they say, okay, write down whatever, 10 or 15 first names, 10 or 15 last names that you want to use. And you can do different combinations, but write them down, send them in, or give them to whoever, and they'll send them in. So I wrote down whatever 10 names I could think of that I thought were like, yeah, that's all right. They chose none of them. So my first couple matches in Tampa every Thursday they had a house show in Tampa. I was just Max Pelham. I think I might have been Max Bauer once because it was on my tights. I'm like, yeah, who gives a shit? It's not on TV. You can call Max Bauer. Then I was pulled in the office one day by Bill, and he would just looked at me. And if you know Bill, he just has like a very Bill way of saying things. Some people hate it. But he's like, how about Axl Keegan? And I was like, all right, great. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, that's your name. I'm like, great. He's like, do you like it? I was like, yeah.
It's fantastic.
And he's like, you don't care? I was like, I mean, oh, whatever. Pay me. I don't care. So it was kind of like a very anticlimactic, but it ended up being Scotty Too Hotty. Scott Taylor was there for the week, and we had known each other a little bit from around here, and Rick and him are very close, Rick Fuller. And so, we had kind of just buddied up while he was there. I mean, he was there to kind of give feedback, help out for the week, but in that moment, I guess he had a conversation with somebody saying his son is named Keegan. And he said, Keegan's a really good name. Nobody uses it. It could be really good for a wrestler. And then the story I was told by somebody who was down there for a while and kind of knew people, he said that the name Axl was one that they had been wanting to put on somebody for a very long time. And for whatever reason, they blessed me with Axl Keegan.
All right, Brian, so that's about all we can fit of the Max Bauer interview in this week's episode. So much going on here in the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. But next week, next Monday, episode 16 of the WPAN, there's going to be so much more as we talk about Max moving to Orlando, his thoughts on the Performance Center, his favorite trainers, working with the late, great Dusty Rhodes, being an original vaudevillain, and the heartbreaking story of his injury and his release, and so much more. That's all coming next week, next Monday, on the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. Make sure you're subscribed on the podcast app you're using right now so you can get part 2 of that interview with Max Bauer / Axl / Mickey Keegan. That's next week on the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing.
For more on the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing, subscribe to us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or find us on our website, thewpan.com. That is thewpan.com.